One of the things we're going to do with the videos that we post online is very quickly and in a simple way answer some of the questions, sometimes the very complex questions, that people will have about religion. And we'll make videos that kind of deal with overviews of different topics, and then we'll also deal with videos that go more in depth into the different questions that we have. One of the big questions that you're going to have when you read through the scriptures, or you'll hear people talk about when you get into religious conversations, is about babies and whether or not babies are born condemned. Are babies born with sin? Are babies born going to hell? Well, for instance, if a mother would have a child and there's a miscarriage, is that child going to be condemned to hell because of some sin that its parents have committed? Is that child going to be held accountable for the sins of Adam, or the sins of its parents and grandparents, etc., all the way down to Adam? And the biblical answer to that question, for a couple of reasons, is no. First of all, you're dealing with a being, a human being, that God has created. When you read through Genesis chapter 1, if you don't get anything else out of the chapter, it ought to be that everything that God made was good. Not only was it good, it was very good. That's Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. And God looked at all the things He had made, and behold, they were very good. Did God make people? Yes, God made people. Does God continue to make people? Yes, God continues to make people. Don't ask me to explain metaphysically how all of that happens. I don't know how all of that happens. I just know that the scriptures talk about God forming people in the womb. It talks about God knowing people in the womb. Psalm 139 talks about being fearfully and wonderfully made. We are made by our Creator. That's one of the reasons why human beings have such incredible value. We alone, out of everything that God has made, are made in God's image. God breathed life into the first man. God formed the man with His hands. He didn't speak Adam into existence. He formed him. He made Adam. He breathed life into Adam. And we too are made by God. Well, if we're made by God, does God make bad things? Does God make things that are less than perfect? Does God make sinful things? If we're made by God, if we are fearfully and wonderfully made, if like the prophet Jeremiah, we are known before we are formed in the womb, if all of these things are true, and God makes us, and a baby is made sinful, what does that say about the Creator? What does that say about the potter who's making the pot? The potter is flawed. What does it say about the Creator who is making the creation, the artist who is painting the painting? There's something wrong with the artist if the artist cannot make a good painting. Every child that is born good because they're made by the Lord. Every person who comes into existence is good at the outset, because they are made by a God who is eternally and everlastingly pure and holy and righteous and good. Because we're made in His image, we're made that way. Now, we can make choices later that will cause us to become wicked or evil, and we can fall away from God later, but as we're being formed, we are good. We don't need to be saved when we are born. We are born safe. It is only later after we sin that we put ourselves in danger. You see, the big misconception that many people have is that God sends people to hell. God doesn't send people to hell. God saves them from it. We are born safe. We commit sin and sever our relationship with God, and we put ourselves in danger of eternal punishment, in danger of an eternal hell burning with fire, where the fire is not quenched and the worm never dies, where there's gnashing of teeth, where there's outer darkness, where there's weeping. I mean, all the things that Jesus uses to describe hell, we put ourselves in danger of that. And then God sent His Son to save us, to make us safe again. That's what God does. God isn't in the sending to hell business. God is in the saving from hell business. God saves us and makes us safe again. He restores us to the once perfect condition that we had, to the once good condition that we had before we committed sin. So are babies born sinful? No, babies are good. Babies are born made in the image of their Creator, who is good. And you can look at many different places in the scriptures. And when we talk about this in a more in-depth, there's many passages you could look at. Ezekiel 18 is a good chapter. Genesis chapter 1 is a good place where you can look. At Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 20 says, "The soul who sins shall die." It has nothing to do with the baby being born sinfully. Even Romans chapter 5, which is the place where many people will go to show original sin or something like it, even Romans chapter 5 clearly shows that we're not born sinfully. Just like we're not all going to go to heaven, not everyone is born in sin. Everyone is born good, they choose to sin. And in order for us to go to heaven, we have to choose to go to heaven. We have to choose to accept the gift that God is giving to us. So are babies born sinful? No. They're good. They're made in God's image, just like we are, just like everybody forever has been, just like everybody forever will be. We're made good because God is good and He is our Father.